Hello all, welcome to our first podcast series hosted alongside the Competition Commission of Mauritius. My name is Tyler Lee Cootson. I'm an associate attorney at Primerio International. We're a pan-African boutique law firm specializing in competition law and antitrust, with 3 offices located in South Africa, Kenya, and Mauritius, as well as a number of partners throughout Africa. We advise several clients in respect of antitrust and competition law matters across the African continent. This podcast forms part of our African Antitrust Agencies in Conversation with Primerio initiative. And this series is set to focus on the activities and the up-and-coming procedures of the Mauritius Competition Commission. For purposes of this podcast, we're going to maintain a particular focus on cartels and anti-competitive practices. And in the following upcoming segments, our team will discuss market research and advocacy, as well as mergers and unilateral conduct. We're excited to have you here and to learn from your insights. Vipin is the head of Legal and Cartels at the the Competition Commission of Mauritius. He's a barrister at law. He was called to the Bar of England and Wales and the Honourable Society of Middle Temple, London, and is also called to the Mauritian Bar in 2008. He's been part of the Competition Commission of Mauritius since its inception in 2009. After having obtained his LLP at London South Bank University, Vipin went to do an LLM in International Commercial Law at the University of Kent, and he did his bar vocational course at the University of West of England. He also holds a postgraduate diploma in Economics and Competition Law, as well as a postgraduate diploma in the EU Competition Law, both from King's College in London. And last but not least, he is also chair of the COMESA Competition Commission Board of Commissioners. So I'm very excited to hear your insights. You've got a very inspirational. Just by way of quick background as to the Competition Commission of Mauritius, it was established in 2009, with the Act being brought into effect in 2007. Since its inception, it has successfully investigated and regulated against a number of anti-competitive practices. However, its enforcement activity has recently increased over the course of the last year. The Competition Commission of Mauritius has not only increased its enforcement activity, but it's also embarked on a number of advocacy initiatives. Namely, it has actively participated in the elaboration of the AfCFTA Competition Protocol, and is actively contributing towards the development of the regulations on abuse of monopolistic positions, mergers, and cartel conduct. The Commission has also been elected as the new chair of the African Competition Forum, which is a network of African national and multinational competition authorities currently reporting on 36 members. In addition, the Commission has also been selected as co-chair of the International Competition Network's Merger Working Group. The ICN is a specialized network of 141 competition authorities from 129 jurisdictions, which advocates for best practice procedures in competition policy as well as in international cooperation. Mauritius is also a member of the COMESA Common Market and the South African Development Community regional blocks, and thus participates both regionally and continentally through its participation in these bodies. Now, enough from me. Let's hear from Vipin. I'm going to split this into 2 sections, broadly being cartel conduct and legislative policy development. So let's start with cartel conduct. We know that the Commission is currently investigating anti-competitive conduct and cartel practices within the insurance and pharmaceutical industries. Can you give us some insights as to these investigations, and are there any other key investigations currently ongoing which the Commission is involved in related to cartels and anti-competitive practices?
Thank you, Tyler. First of all, thank you for having me on this podcast. And it is a pleasure for us at the Competition Commission to be collaborating with Primerio on this series of podcasts. So coming to your first question, yes, so the Competition Commission of Mauritius is very active at the moment regarding cartels. So we have 4 ongoing cartel investigations at the moment. One of them is in the farming sector, okay, and the other one involves a suspected bid rigging in the recreational event management services sector. These two cases are nearing completion, where we will be issuing our final reports of investigation soon, and we will send those to the commissioners for their adjudication. As you said, we have initiated two investigations, one on pharmaceuticals and the other one on insurance quite recently. So the one on pharmaceuticals was opened following a complaint into a suspected collusion amongst importers of pharmaceutical products to fix the wholesale markup to be applied across different categories of pharmaceutical products when they are being sold to retail pharmacists. The pharmaceutical sector, it is important to note, is a regulated sector in Mauritius, with the maximum retail price being fixed by regulations.
I'm just going to interrupt you quickly. Sorry,
Hello?
the connection just cut off for a second. Maybe you could go back just one sentence.
Okay. Yes, so it's important to note that in Mauritius, the pharmaceutical sector is regulated, with the maximum retail price being fixed by regulations by the Ministry of Commerce and Consumer Protection. There have been recent changes in the markup regulations with the introduction of a regressive markup system. So that to address affordability issues in the sector, the pharmaceutical cartel appear to have intervened contemporaneously with the introduction of the new regressive markup system. And at present, there are 7 wholesalers who are concerned with the investigation. But this figure may be called upon to expand in light of information that we gather during the investigation. For the investigation on insurance, this one concerns 11 insurance companies who supply insurance policies to contractors to cover injury to third party or damage to property of a third party caused during construction projects. This insurance product is referred to as a third party liability on contractors or risk insurance. It is suspected that the insurance companies may have agreed to limit the amount of coverage in terms of claims payable, and have also ceased to provide insurance which provides unlimited coverage. It is important to note that in those two investigations, that is the pharma investigation and the insurance investigation, the Competition Commission have executed entry and search exercises, and now we are proceeding with the investigation.
Very interesting. Is there, just a side question, is there any sort of formal dawn raid policy that the Commission adopts?
Yes, so well, we have entry and search provisions in our Competition Act, so we do use those as and when needed. So far, since inception of the Commission, we have done around 10 dawn raids.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, cool. That's great insights, and certainly very important to note the current investigations that are going on, especially for companies both operating in Mauritius and out of Mauritius to be aware of. I wanted to ask, what methods has the Commission used to detect cartel conduct other than the dawn raid procedures that you've just mentioned, and which of these have been most successful? And separately, what are the current challenges that the Commission faces?
Thank you. That's a very interesting question. So the Competition Commission, we utilize a mix of proactive and reactive methods of detection for cartels. So our approach would include building market intelligence, using cartel screening tools, and the behavioral and structural analysis of markets. One of the tools that we use quite often is leniency. We can say that leniency has been quite successful in uncovering cartel activities in Mauritius. We have had a leniency program since the inception of the commission. And to date, we have received around 15 leniency applications, which we can consider to be successful ones and have been granted by the commission. Regarding the challenges that we face, so one of the challenges is about obtaining direct evidence from on competitor communications. As you know, cartel activity is very secretive and well hidden, so uncovering those is difficult, and finding the direct evidence. That's why when we need to use dawn raids, we don't shy away from doing it. Even we all know that dawn raids are very costly, but if we think that there's a case fit for a dawn raid, we'll go ahead and do those. Other challenges that we have are with respect to small businesses. So dealing with informal sectors, small businesses that are not properly structured. So those poses a lot of challenges for us. Firstly, they do not really understand the law itself. So when we go to tell them that we are suspecting a cartel activity here, they have more questions for us than we have for them. You know, what are cartels and things like that. So a lot of times what for them is a normal business practice, okay? We don't really, understand that this may be falling foul of the Competition Act. And sometimes when we ask those small businesses for their turnover figures, so it's difficult for us to obtain same. They say we don't keep, proper book, we don't have proper recording of those. So these are the challenges we have. Also, from the part of law practitioners, there's a perceived lack of understanding of the principles underpinning competition law. So this is something that we have to address through advocacy.
Yeah, that was something that I definitely experienced on the island, speaking to several just people that I met saying that I practice in competition law, and it was generally, what is that?
Exactly.
What does that mean?
Yes.
So, and even in my engagements, I attended that C-Grade conference that you hosted last year, and I spoke to a couple of your colleagues, and they mentioned that on the island, especially like you say, with the small and medium enterprises, that just the awareness is very low of what competition law is.
Yes,
so certainly, I think the advocacy initiatives that you guys have been engaging in is certainly most important in that regard and quite admirable.
Of course, yes. So maybe I could just add that we are working in close collaboration with what we call the IJLS, the Institute for Judicial and Legal Studies. So we offer some training sessions over there for law practitioners, and they get CPD points out of those. So these are the things we're doing on that front.
Yes. Cool. That's also very insightful. Given that the Commission is an agency which has certainly increased its activity recently, are you coming across any instances of multinational cases or cartel cases, or are you kind of just focused on the more local cartel players? Yeah, we'd love to hear your insights in this regard.
Yeah, so we are predominantly focused on local players with regards to cartels, but we do understand that there may be cartels that are happening in, let's say, for example, South Africa, and if we have those players here, they could be doing the same, conducts. But for the moment, we are more focused on local players with regards to cartels. But when we talk about mergers, then we have a lot of cases dealing with the COMESA, but if we're talking cartels, we're talking local players mostly.
Local, yes. Given that many local players don't know what a cartel is and kind of think that it's normal practice, then yeah, that certainly makes sense. Could you give us some insights into some of the penalties or even potential penalties that might be prevalent given the increased enforcement? Have you imposed any significant penalties in the past year?
Okay, so with regard to penalties, I mean, we have the standard, I don't know if it's standard, but our law says that we can impose up to 10% of turnover, you know. So we are guided by this statutory guideline in the imposition of financial penalties. I'll give you like broad figures from the inception. So far we have imposed fines on 6 cartel cases. Okay, and thus far it's totaling around 50 million rupees. Our highest fine was imposed in the beer cartel involving 2 beer producers, and that one totaled around 27 million rupees. We have a few cases in front of the commission at the moment where we have recommended the imposition of fines, but we are waiting the decision of the commissioners on those.
Very useful, and certainly useful for businesses to know that it's not just sort of soft law policies that you're actually enforcing and imposing fines where there is anti-competitive conduct. You mentioned this bid rigging case a bit earlier on. What have you been doing on the bid rigging investigation or detection front?
Thank you. That's bid rigging is one of the areas where we are putting a lot of resources in. So over the past 5 years, we have put much emphasis on building our resources into proactive cartel detection, including on the bid rigging front, as I said. So these would include the screening of public bids, so that we find information on red flags with a defined methodology based on best practices. We have also a very close working relationship with the Procurement Policy Office in Mauritius, and this helps to facilitate interagency discussions, information sharing on public bids, and these agencies are usually quite forthcoming in referring suspected bid rigging cases to us. One of these referrals concluded in a successful cartel investigation with regards to 2 suppliers of medical gases to the Ministry of Health. So we have like 2 or 3 years ago discussed with the Procurement Policy Office, and we have been able to make some legislative changes so that now public offices or any public departments can give us information like confidential information on bids, which before they couldn't because there were some limitations in the law. So now we have been able to change the law so that those governmental departments can give us information regarding bids whenever we ask them. We have also been engaging with what we call the Public Procurement and Supply Department in Mauritius, so that we train procurement officials so that they can detect bid rigging whenever they are analyzing any bids that are in front of them. We have also published together with the Procurement Policy Office a short guidance on bid rigging for public procurers. So it takes time, but we see that now the public procurers are more aware of what constitutes bid rigging. And we do have, some of them calling us saying, well, I have this bid, I might, I find what I think might be a red flag here. So I'm just, pointing that to you. So then we take it forward from there. So in the near future, I won't say in what sector, but we will be, investigating some bid rigging cases.
Very interesting. Certainly all sectors right now are shaking in their boots.
Exactly.
I want to move on to some of the legislative and policy developments, as well as the Commission development in Africa. I certainly noticed at the Secret Conference, I mean, from an agency that I hadn't seen much about, like since October last year, there's just been increased awareness, lots of posting. Your website was recently updated, so it's very nice to see all the developments that have been going on, and I find it a little bit close to home because I lived on the island. So, yeah, it's quite exciting. Are there certain key priority sectors that the Commission is focused on from an enforcement perspective, without mentioning the one that you just said about bid rigging?
Of course. Yeah, so we're trying to probe into sectors that have, an impact on consumers. So as you just said, we're looking into healthcare, pharmaceuticals, we are probing into financial services and public procurement, as I said, and these are the potential anti-competitive practices could have wide-ranging effects on both businesses and consumers. So we don't necessarily have a prioritization policy, but we do want to probe into sectors that are affecting consumers generally at the moment, with rising prices and everything. So we try our best, to bring our, contribution to try to make the lives of consumers easier.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, I suppose be particularly focused on the lower end LSM consumers.
Yes.
Given that's exactly what competition law is meant to protect. Are there any legislative or policy developments that we can anticipate in relation to cartel conduct?
Yes, of course. So, I mean, the Competition Act was introduced in year 2007. We started, enforcing the act in year 2009. So it's been quite some time now, but we have been working with the Competition Act as it is. So we are in the process of revamping the Competition Act. So we are bringing, with regards to cartels, let's say we are bringing in a settlement mechanism, which we didn't have before. So we're trying to, introduce settlement for cartels. We're trying to, reinforce our provisions on bid rigging and also on investigations. We're trying to, reinforce our investigatory powers, for increased deterrence, for non-compliance, and to introduce measures to deal with issues regarding digital markets. So these are kind of in the broad lines. With regards to monopoly, well, I'm sure my colleagues in the next podcast will have more to talk about this, but we are thinking of introducing fines for monopolies, which at the moment we don't have. And with regard to mergers, we are thinking about mandatory merger notifications, because at the moment we are on a voluntary basis. So these are the broad lines, not only in cartels, but what we're trying to do with the law. Yes.
Yes. A side little question there is, has the COMESA regulations impacted the Mauritian Competition Commission's thinking at all in the new policy developments?
Yes, of course. I mean, we have also, discussed with the COMESA Competition Commission, because we have, as member states, we have to kind of harmonize our laws. So we have also looked at the law and tried as far as possible to harmonize with, the provisions of the COMESA regulations and the rules.
Very interesting. Is there any time frame for when we can expect some new law?
Can you come again?
I said, is there any time frame that we can expect the new law to be put into effect?
Yes, okay. So time frame, we are nearing the completion of our law review internally. So we're expecting within the next year we should be up and running with a new law.
Perfect.
Fingers crossed.
Wow. Very useful. Yeah. I wanted to move on to some of the advocacy initiatives. As we mentioned earlier, that the Commission is involved in the AfCFTA Competition Protocol, as well as the ICN and the African Competition Forum. Can you give us some insights as to what you're currently working within these organizations, specifically in relation to cartels and investigations, and any successes that you have?
Yes, so as you mentioned earlier, so we are actually chairing the ACF, the African Competition Forum, for the next 2 years. And one of the things that we have done is to restructure the network into specific areas. So we now have 4 working groups, namely cartels, mergers, monopolies, and advocacy and research, so that we can target our research and capacity building of members in those relevant areas and fields. So the Competition Commission of Mauritius is co-chairing the cartels working group alongside the Competition Commission of South Africa. And we are organizing in close collaboration with the US, the FTC and the US DOJ, to organize the 2024 ACF Cartel Workshop to be hosted in South Africa in the month of October. So this is what we are doing in cartels for the moment. So quite a lot happening. We are also in discussions regarding the AfCFTA, regarding the implementation of the competition regulations under the AfCFTA Competition Protocol. So if all goes well, Mauritius will be hosting the inaugural meeting of the heads of competition authorities of the AfCFTA member states in October. As you mentioned, ICN, we are co-chairing the ICN Mergers Working Group. I'd leave that to my colleagues in the next podcast to talk about this.
I'll make sure that we get some questions on that one. Can you give us some insights as to the Commission's experience in digital markets? Is it considered an important sector or a priority on the Mauritian economy?
Yes, so I mean, the digital market is quite a new phenomenon for us, and we're still, learning about it. But notwithstanding this, we are at the moment doing what we call a scoping, a landscaping rather, of the digital, landscape in Mauritius, to see where we are, in terms of, readiness, acceptance in Mauritius. And then from there, we will see what kind of either advocacy we can do or enforcement activities we can do in that front. So at the moment for cartels, we don't have anything regarding digital markets. But as I said, we are always monitoring markets. We're always, looking at the market, anything that could be happening. We know that a lot of shops, retail in the retail markets, they are online now. So there could be instances of algorithms, collusion through algorithms. So these are things we are on the lookout, and if we do find anything, we will launch an enforcement activities on those. Yes.
I mean, yeah, digital markets are certainly increasing globally. So I suspect for some smaller agencies, it's quite challenging to get up to speed
Yes.
while there's development still going on in some of the more established agencies.
Yeah.
And lastly, I'm going to ask you one more question before I let you go. We've spoken about your appointment to the COMESA Competition Commission, how does the Mauritian Competition Commission collaborate with COMESA in order to address cross-border anti-competitive practices, particularly multinational companies? Can you share any recent examples on the collaboration? Yeah, it would be great to hear your insights.
Yeah, thank you. So our collaboration with, I mean, we have a good, working relationship with the COMESA Competition Commission, and but most of the work we've done with them is regarding mergers. We collaborate with them very often on those, but there are some cases where we have out for referral from the Triple C. Well, some of the notable ones would be the Holcim Lafarge merger, what happened in year, I think, around 2015. And then a bit more recently, there was a case of Engine and Vitol, I think, the merger, which we asked for referral as well. So most of the enforcement work is in relation to mergers, but as the COMESA is, increasing its work in, other restrictive business practices other than mergers, so we are in discussions with them. So we have a project at the moment where we're working on a cooperation mechanism whenever there is any cross-border cases. So we are trying to put up a mechanism in the law, okay, that would guide, whenever we have any cross-border investigations, how for example, how we exchange information, in what parameters we do that, and how we assist the COMESA Competition Commission. So we're finalizing a protocol on that, which we will be, putting in the new law that we just discussed.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's been lovely speaking to you, and I'm glad that we've done it in a pretty good amount of time. So yeah, I mean, if there's anything else that you want to mention in relation to your division, happy for you to do so. And otherwise, we can put it over. We're done.
No, thank you very much. I mean, it was very interesting for us to share our insights on cartels. And yeah, we remain at your disposal. If you have anything else, we're here to answer your questions. So thank you very much.
Great. It's been lovely chatting to you, Vipin. And I look forward to working with you possibly on some cartel activities in the future, as well as just seeing you involved in all the advocacy initiatives. It's really been great to see the Mauritian Competition Commission's work, both in advocacy and their enforcement. So yes, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Same here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Looking forward to the segments of the series.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Vipin.
Bye-bye.
Bye.